All right.
Hey, what's going on, Treacle?
What'd you call me?
Treacle.
Oh. Okay. I'm married, by the way. You know that, right?
I'm straight and sexually active, sir.
All right. Cool. All right, what's going
on? So earlier today, about 20 minutes before the tsunami, this last one, we witnessed a military helicopter hovering over Capitol Boulevard and Popular Street. We began to follow it from a distance. Called over radio 311. Attaching units took a little bit of time.
23.
We were going to go for photographs originally, but until we had backup units, I prioritized seeing what it was doing, where it was going, etc. Not to mention, we get out, try to take photographs. I mean, we can get shot real quick.
True.
So it continued south over the Frigid factory towards the big Cypress building along the waterside. It appeared like it was looking for something. And I say this because as it was making its way towards the Cypress building, it kept stopping and hovering, and sometimes would kind of like mildly circle that area, not like a big circle, but enough to seem like it was attempting to monitor or find something. Once it got to the Cypress building, it then sort of hovered and then made its way eastbound towards the coastline. And as we got closer, we lost visual, but then heard an explosion. The explosion took place by the parking lot, just by the southern tip of the oil fields. There's like a small little parking lot there. We located it. We documented. We looked if there was any bodies. Couldn't find any. 2 blood splatters were found by the helicopter. So it's unknown whether it crashed into the tree line or whether there was a bad ejection or something along those lines. I put it that way because the altitude of the helicopter seemingly would have been higher than the tree line. But once again, we lost visual, so it could have been an either or. So we can't really explain what the cause of the explosion was.
Sure, right.
The DNA has been collected. It's been entered in. It does not have any hits. And then 1 minute remaining, chat.
There's also photos of where the helicopter was.
Yes.
As well, I put a few GPS photos there so you can see the helicopter.
Yep. We did try to get Air 1, and Air 1 did attach, look for heat signatures, nothing found. About half a mile away, there was a vehicle perched up in a direction where the helicopter could have been going. Now, I say that with like very loosely, because it's coincidence, right? People leave shit. It could have been a heist or something. What was interesting is when we went back and I had Frost run names, the name coming back to the pink vehicle that you see in there comes back to someone related to a prison transport.
Medisake.
Now, a separate thing happened is that about 10 minutes into evidence collection, we had Bruce Baylor and another guy, Bruce Baylor and Leon Edwards appear on scene in a white vehicle, and their claim was they saw a helicopter crash from the bridge. Now, number one, that's bullshit. Could they have heard it? Possibly. But the timeline is off. So, obviously, them coming onto scene, they were detained and ID'd. And we were told, while talking to Bruce Collins, that Bruce was apparently seen on a motorbike attempting to interfere with a recent prison transport. So these are all like sort of like odd coincidences. I don't think there's necessarily a link, but
Could I just add something, right? This is, again, a very odd coincidence that might not be linked, but I think is worth referencing.
Yeah.
So the vehicle that was close to the scene, that Zizo's, he
Yeah.
was involved in helping break Mr. Hobbs out of prison with Edgar.
Yeah.
Immortal,
And
thank
I
you for
don't know if you
27
remember,
months.
but
Warpace, thank you for
Edgar
the 20
and Mr.
gifted
Hobbs'
subs.
vehicle were at the scene of the FIB building holding a hostage.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, that'd be very hard to link, but it's all very weird, right?
Yeah. But
Well,
there's
not too long.
Sorry, good.
Not too long after the FIB incident, once we kind of BCV'd on everybody, that was when McNulty was attacked by an attack helicopter the other night.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it could be linked.
There's another thing is this just came to mind. As far as I'm aware, the original sighting of a military helicopter, this is actually some bullshit that we had to deal with. But the TLDR is Larry Knox said 911 and you read that report. Yeah.
That's where this whole thing started, like on the 3rd, which is when I first saw that report.
I do believe that there's likely missing information. Unfortunately, at the time, I tried to stay. I'm not interested in. I just want to patrol, right? So when some of this stuff came up, I tried to pass on.
Last year.
Well, not even pass on, but sort of monitor. But as you probably read from my report, it turned into a shit show where everyone chased whatever was moving instead of the immediate. Like fucking Larry is being attacked by a helicopter. Fuck fleeing vehicles that are his friends. Like, you know what I mean? But now that we're like thinking back at this, it's interesting that it was Larry who's tied to Cyprus, and we got a helicopter seemingly like that thing was monitoring. Like it wasn't.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was
slowing down.
Right?
It was looking for something, someone, whatever it is. But
it was by no means just passing an area.
Yeah.
Was there any, thoughts or anything around that time?
It was while we had attaching units. Frost and I had about 10 minutes to collect whatever evidence we could get, looking for a body. Then people coming on scene, so we didn't have that opportunity. But the main reason I wanted to flag you up is, I'm at least aware that this is some serious shit, and I didn't want to wait for something else to potentially happen. And then, soon before this all got, passed up.
Okay. Well, I know you said you want to patrol, but so do you want any info that I have on this, or like, are you interested in continuing with this, or what?
I mean, I'm willing to help where need be. But you know what? I can separate shit. Sure, fuck it.
Quick one. I really have to shoot, guys. However, Mr. Dark, I'd be heavily interested in helping out if you ever do need a helping hand.
Of course, yeah.
So if you want to, I mean, if you
fuck it, Chad. We're separating it. We're separating our characters. What the fuck are we gonna do otherwise?
Okay.
All right.
I do apologize. I'm way over. I'm way. Yeah. No. Right.
Where do you want to go? Front door or back door?
Front door, please.
God damn it. Fuck it.
But yeah, if you just brief Knight and then get Knight to brief me, I'll
there's no way we can't be. All right.
Basically,
one thing I'm gonna just let you know, Dark. Like, can you send me an email?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm just going to let him know. I'm like mildly conflicted. I'm going to be splitting it. But if I'm ever hesitating, it's probably To all right. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It's been it was tough. We were trying to get back up earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lack of urgency on some things, but
No, I agree.
yeah.
I think it's when there's like sometimes they feel, even though there's like 40 units around, it's difficult to get people pointing in the right direction. But basically, I'll keep it brief, and then you can ask whatever questions you want. But since I read that report from, I don't know whether you created it, but about the Larry incident, and I noticed that he shouted out Face Clan, or someone shouted out Face Clan or Faceless.
He said
that name
Faceless.
rang a bell. Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. He told me directly when units were trying to flee. He's like, some people called, like, some guy or people called the Faceless are attacking me with a military helicopter. This is when all the units had left him, and I started screaming on radio to, what the fuck is everyone doing?
Did he say why? Did he mention any reasons?
He didn't. Given, you know, my attempt to stay away from investigations in general at the time, I had units come back on scene. The incident has escalated to the point where Marty was holding up a cop. It was actually insane how much we overly escalated with the victims. So after we had managed to suppress Marty, suppress Tony Corleone, who was also on scene, suspected to be on scene. We had officers take direct interrogative information from him. I would say that bringing in Larry again isn't perhaps a bad idea, because it seemed he was rather scared for his safety. So
Peters has attempted to talk to Larry, like, in a non-formal setting to try and get some information out of him, but he's kind of bottled up and won't really say much. And it seems to be out of fear. So I noticed that name, and it wasn't the first time. On New Year's Eve, I noticed a twop from the Faceless, and, you know, noticing an account like that, I was like, okay, that's strange. I just took a screenshot.
I have to really think about what I'm going to know on one character versus
during
another, but, like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Piqued my interest. And so I started digging around that day.
Warpace, thank you so much for the 20 gifties. Appreciate
5-6 hours later, I had a ping from the Faceless, and they left a card outside the back door that indicated that I was marked. So somehow, within 6 hours, they knew I was looking into the investigation, and they knew exactly where I was, and knew, you know, I had to ping my phone and everything.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Since then, there has been, so that was what day? Yeah, that was the 3rd of January. So Larry was attacked on the 2nd. 3rd of January, I started investigating, and I got marked, whatever that is. Well, I know what it is. According to them, you can be marked with a blue card, a red card, and a black card. If you get a black card, you're dead, pretty much. That's what they've said anyway. Later that day on the 3rd, there was a helicopter attack at the prison where 2 helicopters were shooting at the prison. At the same time, a trip-ass riot was occurring or wrapping up.
What?
Peters was trip-ass, the gang. Have you heard of them?
No, not so much.
Supposedly their leader is Edgar de Castillo. You've met that guy.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peters was called directly because he was helping me out on the 3rd. And he got a call directly during the prison thing that he was told to look up, and then the helicopters arrived, and then they were called. He was called afterwards as well, and threatened to basically keep his nose out of the investigation and all that kind of stuff. On the 4th, both me and Peters were pinged again, given some information.
I'm in a primary on Nino, but I'm going to take in enough to
nonetheless,
assist
there's been
where I
several
can.
attacks.
So I kind of feel bad
police
after what I've
helicopters.
seen. You know?
Obviously, there was an attack on Larry. There's stealth jets, like I'm talking massive stealth jets. I call them a bomber because it's that fucking big. Has been spotted both earlier in the day and later at kind of your time by like McNulty and such, flying around the city doing nothing else, just flying around. At the time it was spotted, couldn't spot anything on ATC. So it has some kind
I'm
of
going to take notes.
ATC,
what I know.
Anti-radar something. I called these people directly and asked them, and they said that it was them, and they called it Operation Skynote, whatever the fuck that is.
What the fuck?
On the 8th, I was shot at by an attack helicopter out these back doors. Since then, obviously, I've been investigating and stuff like that. They wanted information from me on that investigation. Obviously, I wouldn't give it over. And then they picked up 4 judges' names from a clerk. So there's judges been targeted as well.
Sorry, you said from a clerk? Wait, do you mean a clerk told someone something?
So, yeah, they called a clerk up asking to see if the clerk had access to the MDT. The clerk obviously said no because they don't. And so this individual then wanted to know who were the active judges. And this clerk gave over 4 active judges. I don't blame them or anything.
No, of course not. I mean,
yeah,
it's their job, right? Public info.
And that was it. They gave over 4 names: Beric Johnson, Arcadia Grayson, Judge, what's his name? Weiss. I can't remember his first name though, for some reason. And Sean Danielson. And so I was like, okay, those judges might be targeted. And literally, like, straight after that helicopter was out the back shooting at me. I will say this. As of today, we received information that Beric Johnson specifically is going to be targeted, and there is going to be a manhunt for him. And I think it's for the information that we have on the MDT through the investigation. There has been a hell of a lot of talks, both through like documents that we have received and twats and that kind of thing, that there has been leakers in this organization or people related to this organization. And it seems that the individual I've been in contact with that is part of this group is very unhappy about that. And my understanding is that's why they want the information from this investigation. And I imagine Larry is part of that. Because if it wasn't for Larry and his statement to the police, I wouldn't even be looking into this right now. And so I think they're trying to dig to find out.
Oh no, Brian is
from. I think there might be more. I don't know because it's plural.
Oh no! Wait a minute.
Yeah. So I think that's what it is. But besides what they're trying to do,
I guess
they're also, they're attacking prisoners. They're attacking cops. So these guys are terrorists. I think Larry called them when he spoke to Peters, terrorist trust fund babies. And he said they're worse than the Simones. That was his word.
Who said this?
Larry. I forgot about that statement, didn't I? Yeah. I will say that there have been members of Cyprus involved in this.
I would take Larry's statement a little. I'm trying to think back, like, what context does Larry have in relation to the Simones that would have him even make that statement? I mean, during the Simone investigation, there was very little linkage between the Simones and Larry outside of beef between Lang and Michael Simone over petty shit. And Larry, at that time, was counter to Lang. So it may just be him saying some shit. You know what I mean? Just to embellish.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Yeah. But I mean, but yeah, members of Cyprus have been involved, like confirmed involved. To what extent is unclear. I would say specifically one name that from a subpoena of this individual, the Faceless said is that's been confirmed involved is Skipper Jones.
Holy fuck! Wait, I'm gonna pause you there real quick. We just arrested Bruce Baylor with members of Cyprus. I'm just kind of
Leon Edwards is Cyprus too, so that might have been Cyprus turning up.
Maybe what if? I mean, this is probably a bit of a shot in the dark, but like, what if? I don't know. Maybe they that makes what we just ran into in Bruce's interest a little bit more, like,
yeah, for sure,
eyebrow raising.
Yeah. When you said Leon, I got a phone subpoena because, well, first of all, Edgar de Castillo is definitely someone who has been connected and, has been in contact with this individual as well. To what extent, again, don't know. Did you hear about the prison break the other night?
No.
A lifer was brought to Action Captain's grave up on the hill of the lighthouse by just two members.
I have a notepad out. I also told Dark, like, listen, bro, I'm conflicted. If I'm pausing, I'm making sure I know the info. What are you going to do if I'm playing Brian and Nino?
When he was brought to the grave up on the top of a hill in the middle of nowhere, a couple of cars full of armed guys came and broke him out.
Wait, how?
Scotty was...
How did the prisoner get there?
Because Scotty took him there.
Scotty
for his birthday at the warden.
The warden took a lifer and brought... What the fuck?
Yeah. Pretty suspicious, if you ask me. Gets brought to this grave, gets broken out. Scotty's forced to take the shackles off him in the tracker. There's a massive shootout with police. There's a couple of people arrested. A couple of members of... Well, I think Frederick White of Trip Ass, Future Hendricks of Besties, and Jay Hobbs of the Besties were all arrested and currently on hag charges for harboring a fugitive. That is also involved in this investigation. It is believed that there was a 911 of the lifer getting onto a plane at LSIA, and we have text message confirmation of the Faceless saying to the lifer, he didn't have his phone at the time, saying he heard the plane ride was good. So confirmation that he was involved.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing, Brian, I'll be honest. But yeah, Cyprus is involved. Edgar and Tripass are involved with this as well. Again, to what extent? It seems to go pretty deep, but what exactly, their relationship is, it's kind of unclear. Right now, priority is kind of getting more information on who these people are, what they want. Because right now the motive is really kind of unclear here. According to Larry, they've been around for a long time and just the police haven't noticed. But, with bloody bombers in the sky and attacks on police escalating all the time, I'm worried about where this is going. And we need to find out, what that motive is and what they're up to. Because right now it's just kind of guessing and reacting.
Do you have any information on this lifer?
Matthew Colby. So, yeah, Matthew Colby, he's been around for a bit. The interesting thing about Matthew Colby is that on the 21st of December, a group consisting of Hydra, Jay Hobbs of the Besties, and Edgar de Castillo break into prison, dressed as prisoners. They break into prison with Class 2 weapons and meet up with Matthew Colby in the cell block. they are there to see about information that Matthew Colby had obtained, and they wanted to know where he obtained it from.
Right after this.
It seemed like he didn't tell them, because Edgar then threw a Molotov at him and shot him down. And then there was a massive shootout with police where 26 LEOs were shot at or injured, and many of them escaped from prison, like the suspects. There's been massive warrants. I think Flippy might even still have his. So he gets shot down because of the information he didn't tell these guys. But then, like, not too long after...
Zombies! Think of the 5 months.
Like, during the prison riot that I told you where the helicopters attacked, he was assisting the Tree-Pass people. So Edgar and I think Frederick White was there as well. So somehow they'd made up and have been assisting each other. You're right, Craig.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah. So yeah, there was. Other than that, like, who he is, don't really know. He's in for like 26 counts of manslaughter and reckless driving. So, you know, not exactly like the most hardened criminal in the world. Then,
Hi, Dark.
Hey, we got his phone records tonight. Craig, you got those too?
You're going to have to elaborate.
The Matthew Colby records for his phone.
Oh, yeah, I got those.
Yeah.
How did you get them?
I got sent them by Falconer. And through that, he has been in contact with the Faceless too. Like direct phone contact.
Well, no shit. We already have no knowledge of that.
Yeah, I'm telling Brian.
Yeah, he has them in his... Oh, gotcha. I thought you were... Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll just start my time.
So yeah, exactly. Again, extent of why he's like been contacted and why he's involved, we don't know. But it seems like this Faceless person or group was assisting in his escape.
That maybe is that seems like a hot link right there. I mean, 2 times, like, you know, between the contact and the escape, like where's the, like, what's the value proposition there? Like, especially if you're going to be taking out those kind of assets, which if you're taking out those kind of assets, like, you want to be known and seen. Not that you want to be known and seen. Excuse me. You're taking on that, like, you're showing your hand at that stage, right? Especially if these guys have been around.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we've just actively been ignoring military aircrafts, like, for a couple weeks.
Right. No, I don't think so. No.
I don't know, man. I
mean,
Larry scene
you're
was
not
bad.
wrong. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
The answer I got from Carmine originally was, well, yeah, I heard and I saw, but what are we going to do against it? And I'm like, that's not your call, brother. Like, it's like, you know.
Yeah, so, again, you know, the reason why Matthew was involved in the first place is still unclear as well. Yeah, this goes pretty deep. In terms of like suspects and that kind of thing, the only things that we have right now in terms of like an individual is so Action Caption, a member of the Guerrillas, was murdered on the 10th of December, believed to be by Edgar De Castillo and Brandon Valentino, both of Tree Pass. At his funeral, Ruby York was undercover. There's a bunch of guerrillas there, like the gang, and she could recognize everybody. There was one individual that did talk, and it was a man in a blue suit and a blue skull mask, which adds up with these cards that I've been marked with. 2 judges have been marked with. McNulty and Peters, all confirmed. Is a blue card with a skull mask on it, and it adds up. But again, it's nothing concrete, so it's a suspect. That being said, on the 8th of January, skipping forward to a few days ago, at Brandon Valentino's house, Petros was watching the place and saw an individual matching that same description coming out of the house. So again, possibly connected, this individual with a blue suit. And then there was one, Craig, who was that you said was saved as blue in a contact?
Faceless.
in Matthew Colby's phone that we have in custody, the number, the Faceless number, he had saved as blue in his phone. So again, possible suspect is a man in a blue suit and a skull mask.
Okay.
Or that could just be,
no, that's very reasonable.
Yeah. And we know that they're not working alone. There's obviously the 2 helicopters at the prison. During the breakout of Colby, Edgar, who is suspected to have been involved, had contact with this unknown number and was asking about parachutes at the time. So we have another number, and then we also have a number that called Larry the day of his attack. So we have 3 different phone numbers. So possible 3 different suspects.
The Larry one's going to be interesting given the direct, statements that he made.
It's something I'm half keeping in the back of my mind and not also taking too seriously because
swap sims, all that kind of thing. The thing that I find I'm trying to wrap my head around is if I look at these as big plot points, I guess. Without a better descriptor. Prisoner escape. And then you got Cypress way the hell over here with Larry.
Yeah.
And then way somewhere else you got Judges.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of failing to even come up with some sort of hypothetical motive that kind of connects those. And then you mentioned FIB building, which, could tie back to the lifer ? Right? Maybe this guy this lifer that escaped may be deeper than anyone realized, right? I didn't
even think that.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking if you're going to use those assets to get someone out, that, if you're going to use that, may have been an asset, is what I'm trying to get at. Information the guy either knows or, for all we fucking know, this guy may be part of their organization, right?
You've said something. Okay, Matthew said something to the face. Let me find.
Holy moon runes.
Yeah, Brian's thinking why would you use all that shit to break somebody out? For
so
fun?
Matthew said to the Faceless, "Truth buys trust," and then 3 days later he was broken out.
Okay, well then that also there's another angle there, which is he did something for them, and this was a return favor.
I think the whole Judges and police situation, that's all to do with the investigation we're doing and trying to discover the leaks that they're worried about. And
leaks?
I guess want to get... So there was the first original tweet that I got and took a photograph was betrayal doesn't just cost trust, it costs life. That was the first. Then me and Peters received a book from them, let's say a dossier. And there was a code in there. Wasn't much of a cipher, I'll be honest. But specifically the wording was, I want to get it for you. Those who betray us, a rude awakening is coming. Leakers will be silenced. The Faceless sees all. So again, mention of leakers. Then today we get a book from a dumpster. Some nerdy guy found it in a dumpster as he was digging about.
Game, thank you for 6 months.
In there was, this is when I was talking about Beric. Operation Manhunt. A snitch has leaked critical information about the Faceless to law enforcement. jeopardizing the organization's operation. The identity of the snitch is hidden in confidential documents, accessible only through a high-ranking city judge, Barrick Johnson. So then it talks about the manhunt. It literally says, mission, locate, capture, and extract Barrick to the Faceless before it's too late. Make sure he's alive. And then there's a backwards message at the bottom that says, leakers will be silenced. Again, I think the whole PD contact, judges, I think that's all to do with finding this leak or leakers. As for everything else, we're in the dark. Like, why Cypress is connected, why Matthew Colby, why Edgar and Tripass, we don't know.
I mean, they might be vending, like, things out, especially with this many groups involved. Seems pretty unlikely they're all sort of working together, so maybe it's being vended out, you know?
Maybe, but then there's that whole incident at the prison in the 21st December where, like, members from 3 different gangs break in to interrogate Colby.
Who did you mention? You mentioned this Tree Pass? Hydra and what was the third?
And Besties. There was J Hobbs of the Besties.
Gotcha. Okay. Wait. And interesting. J Hobbs, do you know what let me oh fuck me.
What's wrong?
Do you know what hood court is?
I mean, I can imagine what hood court is.
Yeah, really pretty. Yeah. I attended one of those, half listening, because one of those odd things. Like I don't know how you're supposed to juggle that concept, right?
Sure.
Look, I'm willing to look the other way on certain things, but you know, given the similar to how HOA used to do shit back in the day.
Yeah.
But I will point out that Edgar, J Hobbs, and Brandon Valentino were up against this guy named Future Hendrix and this other guy in a shiesty. And so I'm sort of pointing that out is that I have seen them together now that I think about it. Peters was overseeing that case. Yeah, it was some like bullshit about like who was responsible for VAFs or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't think anything like critical came out of that outside of like I'm trying to like dig back into what I've seen out there, and I have seen the besties and I don't actually know. It was interesting. It was J Hobbs and Brandon and Edgar versus 2 besties.
Okay.
But who else was in there? There's members of ADMC, Chaos Legion, so there was kind of a hodgepodge, so probably nothing else. Yeah, I don't know. Sure. This is definitely interesting. It's strange that they would go after a judge. So like, okay, so the only thing I can like I'm like parsing out here in my own mind is like, okay, they want something out of this FIB building. They also want information out of a judge. Like, what the fuck are they seeking? Right?
I personally think it's who the leak is. I think they're trying to get.
But leak for what, right?
That's like, okay. That's what we don't know. Like, what would, you know? I mean, at a base level, Larry just telling us that name triggered an investigation, right? So Larry spoke to the police and said, these people called the Faceless are after me and try to kill me with an attack helicopter. You know, the most any criminal, he's snitching, right? And to these people, they're probably going to think the same. And so maybe that's what they're trying to get access to. You know?
It's
report.
That does make sense. I think like when I kind of like zoom out here, okay, let's say there's a leak for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's heat coming towards law enforcement from them as a consequence of investigating. How are they? It must be so crucial that you would expose your capabilities, military equipment, footprints with prison breaks and stuff, and be sort of brazenly be going after a judge to the extent that law enforcement knows he's being targeted. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's very out there. This is like Al Qaeda levels of shit. Like, fucking putting videos out. Like,
I mean, it's gone from like 0 to 100 in like a week.
Yeah.
And we didn't know about these guys like a week and a half ago. You know what I mean? And then it's just blown up. They're twatting all the time, like with a bunch of twats. You okay, Craig?
Yeah, Oshira's on her way down. She says she has information about the Faceless after a stakeout she did last night.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
We're still good on her, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and my spreadsheet is now updated with the Matthew Colby information integrated with everybody else's. So you can see timeline stuff.
Yeah, I think motive is a big thing right now that we need to try and get a pin on. Because right now it's completely unclear. Like, I don't know if they're gonna try and target the mayor or they're gonna blow up, I don't know, the FIB board. You know what I mean? I don't know what their end goal is. They're very mysterious and cryptic when I talk to them. Though sometimes they're quite direct. Like, I brought up, because we subpoenaed the phone, I brought up 2 names. I brought up Brandon Valentino and Skipper Jones. And, I didn't tell them why I brought that name up, but then they called me back and were like, why did you mention that name, Skipper Jones? It's interesting you said that. Did you subpoena my phone? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you that. I think it's more interesting if you have to think about whether I subpoenaed your phone to know that name. And then they really didn't like that. That's when they brought up, they said, I've got 4 names.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell me whether you subpoenaed me, I'm going to go knocking on their doors. And obviously I'm not going to tell them that shit. And that's when I called that, because he said he got the names from a DLJ member. I called the clerk and he was like, yeah, I gave over the 4 active judges. So I'm like, oh shit.
So, you should leave this conversation? Wait, why?
Yeah. I think motive is difficult right now. I think the issue is this, on the dumpster where this book was found, for Beric, this manhunt for Beric, it basically said, it was a bit faded out, that something was going to happen on Monday. Something's going to happen on Monday. And when I spoke to them a few days ago, they said something was coming soon. So, in my opinion, I think we're on a timeline here. I think we're on a crunch.
Oh, so, he already knows I'm conflicted, but I think there's no way to avoid it, so I'm just going ahead and
fine with,
I'm making a notepad of what
Peters
both characters
and people
know.
going around asking about, like, Peter's
I have to separate.
And he was like, what do you know about the Faceless? And Forehead didn't say anything, but he did say, he basically gave Peters a warning and said, be careful. Watch out for strangers, that kind of thing. So he knows something. There's a lot of people that know things that aren't talking.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, this is, well, there's a fucking mayoral debate in 20 minutes.
There is? Oh, I suppose there is.
Yeah, that's going to, and with that military helicopter, that's going to be an issue.
Good.
I have a phone call with President Davis in about a minute here. I will be back later this evening. I'll probably be around tomorrow as well. So if I see here whatever, I'll try to make sure it gets documented and sent your way.
Yeah.
But
I think before Monday, I'm gonna try and do a kind of a debrief because there's a lot of people who have information. So I'm gonna try and set up a debrief for like tomorrow evening, probably around this time. And anybody who have information can like get together and kind of exchange it, and everybody be on the same page.
Yeah.
And we can try and figure out a plan from there.
Absolutely. It may be worthwhile asking all officers if they recall whether prior to the date at the bodega, whether
Yeah.
they had witnessed any sort of military movement of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good call. The only one that I've got is King said he saw a helicopter flying east over like Mission Row at one point in December, but he couldn't tell me when. He couldn't remember when. But there was nothing that came of it. There was no like incidents or anything like that. But that's the only. Okay, that's a lie. There was one incident. But this was back on the 14th of October at the Humane Labs, where an armored vehicle and 2 military jeeps were found at a shooting. The reason that I'm linking this is there was individuals of Tree Pass whose casings were found on scene or they were arrested.
Oh, wait,
So
how many
that's
days prior?
This was on the 14th of October.
Yep.
So this was a while ago.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Oh, God damn it. Hey, what's going on? How you doing, President?
Hey.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, Mr. Davis. I'll get on the phone right now. Yep. All right. All right. Dark, I'll be around probably in a couple hours. He's going to...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You go.
All right.
Thanks,
I'm
bro.
going to...
Now every time
All
you
right.
have fucking impeachment, people are just gonna step down and not go through the fucking process. It's gonna be a
People-
cop out
Yeah,
and
I'll
a
let
pussy
you
move.
All right. You guys take care.
Hey, Brian. Oh, wait.
I'm gonna take the
I'll let-
satellite call right over this way.
Okay.